So, let's talk about Jurassic World Dominion. Now, we already know that Jurassic World, or in this case Jurassic Park, is one of the biggest franchises to ever exist. Especially with Jurassic Park, where it started off with a new age to cinema history, where it started off with a pop culture following, and started to become one of the most recognizable films there is. And since then, it started to get a little bit of a remake, of course, with Jurassic World, which it's which is fine enough. The film itself is fine enough. It's decent, and but what makes Jurassic World stand out is that it is become one of the highest grossing films out there, making more than just $1 billion. And as for Fallen Kingdom, it didn't reach that many since not many people were quite into this film. Myself, I wouldn't be either. And then this leaves us with Jurassic World Dominion. And despite the fact I've heard people say that they're not really into Fallen Kingdom, then I guess I have my little hopes for this movie in case if it is going to be nothing but just a cash grab. So, in case you're wondering, how do I think of Jurassic World Dominion? And would it set a new age for the Jurassic World franchise? Or would this feel like it needs to belong in the trash of films where they need to get destroyed by a meteor? We'll see for ourselves. Now, when I first saw the first half minutes of the movie, I was hoping for a story that could be interesting and something to give new for the franchise. But when the actual story kicks in, that's when then all my hopes just went downhill. I mean, it did try to promise us an actual story in this film, and for me, but when the whole story begins, it just went downhill and never gets to grab my attention. And and the biggest problem with this film is that it's always quite predictable. Where Owen's daughter has been kidnapped, and it was up to him and his wife to save her, and also Blue's adopted child, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, the story just feels confusing and quite stupid. It's just trying to bring us this infuriating message of environmental, like you're just trying to protect the other species, and a whole set of weak emotional scenes because they are so predictable that they just lose my interest. And it's almost frustrating on how many Jurassic World fans would be disappointed by this. Is I mean, it's like it's always trying to say that showing like an environment, like showing raptors wasn't enough, so they're just bringing back the veterans from Jurassic Park and just try to make people get distracted by the nostalgia without even following the story itself. I mean, I won't say it's the story is as bad as the previous sequels, but what makes it a big problem here is that it's just like brings in the bloody message that we already heard of before. Well, I guess there was sometimes I did feel a bit of good in this movie. Like how most of the jokes that I kind of get a chuckle out of, even if there weren't that much jokes in a Jurassic World movie for some reason. And it does supply some good amount of action scenes that do give a purpose. So I guess I'll give this film something when it wants to be serious. Yes. I mean, they did have some potential to make something that was actually quite a good story for a franchise, but I guess that just failed and just makes the movie feel a bit pointless. If the writing and the story does not work well, then I guess the animation is actually pretty good. They made CGI dinosaurs trying to bring her into the live action world where it's mostly recorded with the humans, and the visuals surprisingly fit well, which they actually do make this quite better compared to the other recent films like Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that actually does make something that's quite unique and very detailed. And I mean, yes, there are the character designs for the dinosaurs do have some quite nice details that I will say are quite impressive, and of course, they actually do try and bring us some new species into the into the franchise. So I'll give them that they at least make up some species to make something that's new and believable. And the character animation does work well for the raptors. I mean, wait, what? I meant by more than just the raptors. The other dinosaurs move like how they were supposed to move, which makes them more believable than you think. But the true highlight of the visuals is with the action scenes, where some of the dinosaurs do actually have good surprise and what was it called, action in some of the action scenes. Whenever they trying to chase one of the humans, or when they face off with other dinosaur type creatures. And I will say this could be a lot more better compared to the sequels. So since I actually enjoy this visual more. Well, won't amaze the audiences that much since this is a Jurassic World movie. At least the visuals do serve their job. So, as this is a film that's mostly focused on the characters, you expect that they have a pretty good role in this film. Well, it turns out they have the complete opposite of that. My big issue with the characters is that they're so boring and predictable that it makes it obvious on what their goal is, that they'll how to exceed it, or how they will just go through the entire movie. Let's first start off with the main girl, Mace Lockwood. Like, she's meant to be the daughter of the parents of Owen Grady and Claire Deering, and who just wants to be out in the art world instead of just being feel like he's locked in a cage where she can't just go anywhere. But there is a good reason why they can't let her out, because of the villain's trying to capture for some reason. Like, I won't spoil what it is because of obvious reasons. But she's obviously just your typical daughter that just always acts like a brat and then just grows her heart and just goes on with the parents. Speaking of her parents, Owen Grady and Claire Deering are mostly meant to be your overprotective parents, or they just worry too much about Mace and make sure she doesn't get lost, which is basically about it. Not much I can say about them. Aaron Grant, Ian Malcolm, and Eddie Spatula are the ones that are trying to do like the mission and all that, but I think they're mostly put in there just for like nostalgia. Yeah, that's basically about it. And Kayla Watts, who also helps Claire Deering and Owen Grady just to save Mace Lockwood, and that's basically about it. And then there's the villain Dr. Lewis Dodgson, who is just the typical villain who is just trying to raid a place, and yeah, that's basically about it. The only thing I can say about these characters that at least they're not full on hateable, or even though the voice acting, at least they do bring up some nice voice acting. But what makes it a problem here is that they make a film about Jurassic World feel boring. Jurassic World Dominion had some potential to being quite of a good sequel with some beautiful visuals and nice animation on the dinosaurs and some good other creatures that have nice details. But that all then feels like a complete waste with a dull and predictable story about dinosaurs and humans coexist, which is kind of similar to the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild for some reason, and generic characters and jokes that do give me a chuckle don't appear much in this film. If I had to put out my recommendation, it would have to be to those Jurassic World fans, and they won't see this film given more credit. I mean, I do enjoy the Jurassic World movies, but nah. But for this one, it's just a bit of a skip. Heck, I can even say that this is one of Jurassic World's weakest films in the franchise. Well, Jurassic World fans would definitely enjoy this film, but for me, I'm not too sure about that one. I'm a bit mixed for it. If I have to give this film any credit more than any other, at least it gave me a nice thumbnail for this video or review.